Hello friends, Gregg Braden here, and I want to welcome you to this edition of our questions and answers. I'm going to do something a little bit different today. We've had so many questions across the board, man, they're just coming from everywhere, that are essentially asking the same question. The correspondence I'm getting through the texts and through the emails and comments on our social media all are first reflecting the fact that this is a crazy world. And people are saying that. They're saying, man, this is a crazy world. What do we do? And people are asking specific questions about what they can do for themselves and their families and just to be ready, to be prepared for whatever it is that's coming down the line. We don't know precisely what's coming down the line, and that's the whole point. So I'm going to talk to you today about resilience. And I know resilience means different things to different people. I have an entire course dedicated to personal resilience. When we talk about personal resilience, those are things, actually, there are five domains of personal resilience. It's physiological resilience, mental, psychological, emotional, and spiritual resilience. So you already have that. I don't want to be redundant with that. We've done some videos on this as well. People are asking now to go beyond that. They're saying, okay, we understand, we've got to be mentally prepared and emotionally and spiritually prepared, but what can we do for ourselves and our families? In the old days, when I was a kid growing up, 1950s, 1960s, resilience had a very, very different meaning from what it has today. And in those days, it was essentially, if you had a bad day, suck it up and get over it. Just man up is the term that I used to hear from my friends and my family a lot. Man up. Of course, we wouldn't use that term so much today. But here's the point. In the old days, the thinking of resilience was that you're going along in life until something throws you a curveball. And your ability to recover from that curveball, your ability to get back to normal functioning, that was your level of resilience. Well, that's one way of thinking about resilience. There's another way, and this is what my course is based on. That's what I'm going to talk to you about today. The Stockholm Resilience Institute is pioneering the research and the practical applications for a kind of resilience that's called adaptive resilience. And it is just what it sounds like it is. In adaptive resilience, here's the difference between adaptive resilience and traditional resilience. In adaptive resilience, we are honest with ourselves and we truthfully acknowledge that the world that we're living in, for whatever reason, the circumstances have changed. We're not judging them as right, wrong, good, or bad. We're not talking about who's causing what or what the outcomes are going to be. All we're saying in adaptive resilience is that this is no longer business as usual. And because we acknowledge it's no longer business as usual, it makes sense to take the steps to provide what is called spare capacity in the principles of resilience. So the first principle of resilience, whether it's personal resilience or whether it's community resilience or social resilience, it is the principle of spare capacity. Spare capacity simply means that you recognize it's very possible, maybe even probable, that the things that are available to you on a daily basis typically may not be available. And it's an opportunity for you and your community, your friends, your family, to determine what it is that's important to you and to make provisions. Say, if we cannot have these things when we need them, how is life without these things, and what are the showstoppers in our lives? Food, water, electricity, medicine, things like that. Those are considered showstoppers. And what can we do to fortify our homes? What can we do to fortify our families in the event that the things that we need on a daily basis are not available? That is a perfect example of adaptive resilience. Now, here's the reason I'm sharing this with you. You and I are living a time of extremes. Man, that's no secret to you. It's no secret to me. We've talked about this for years. This is anything but business as usual right now. And I'm emphasizing this because I have friends, I have business associates, I have family members who are reluctant to acknowledge that this is a time of extremes. They are reluctant to acknowledge that this is anything other than business as usual because it's painful to do so. We don't want to go there. Nobody does. I don't want to go there either. I would love for the world to be the world, pre-COVID, and for my business, for my planning, for my events. It's not honest. I'm not being honest with myself or with my community if I say that. So for a whole number of reasons, we're living a time of extremes. We've talked about some of those. We are living a rare convergence of cycles. Natural climate cycles are culminating right now, along with natural rhythms of economic cycles, along with rhythms of conflict cycles. These cycles are known, they can be predicted, they can be measured. We've done this in other videos. I've written whole books about it. That's not what I'm going to talk to you about today. But what I want to say is that we are living this convergence of cycles. And within this convergence, there are individuals, there are organizations that are capitalizing on the chaos of these cycles by trying to impose additional change. So this is like the World Economic Forum and the Great Reset that we've talked about in some of the other videos. It's no secret that the Great Reset is being attempted. The United Nations is now in partnership. They have a signed document and a handshake that was broadcast publicly. I'm not sharing any secrets here. That the UN will implement many of the ideas of the World Economic Forum through the Sustainable Development Goals, the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, UN SDG 2030. And I will do another program on that specifically, exclusively. I don't want to cloud this conversation with that. But the point is that in addition to the natural converging cycles, the Great Reset and the thinking of these Sustainable Development Goals and many other things are all contributing to make this anything other than business as usual. And this is where you're seeing we've got war happening now in Europe. We've got economic chaos. We've got financial breakdowns. We're losing the world reserve currency. The US dollar is failing as a world reserve currency. We're seeing all of these things happen. So what this means is that we need to shift our thinking. And I know that can be hard sometimes. But we need to shift our thinking to be honest with ourselves. And here's the reason why I'm sharing this with you. Because the suffering happens to the greatest degree when we're not ready for what's coming down the line. When we stick our head in the sand, when we deny that we are in a changing world, and when the changes, when they impact our society, our community, our homes, our families, our schools, our businesses, if we're not ready for it, that is where the suffering comes from. Even though it may not be pleasant, if we can be ready for it, then we give ourselves this buffer. It's the buffer of spare capacity. It means if the supply chains are cut off, we're not going to go hungry and our family's not going to go hungry. If big storms are happening and we have a weakened power grid and our power goes out, it means that we've got some kind of a backup. Well, here's the thing. I'm getting correspondence. People are just overwhelmed. They're saying, we don't even know where to begin. We don't even know where to begin with this kind of stuff. We're busy. We've got families. We've got jobs, multiple jobs. Many of our viewers are having multiple jobs, multiple streams of income. They need that. And they're saying, we don't even know where to begin. So what I want to do today is just talk to you. I put a little presentation together about some of these fundamental principles of spare capacity that are related to our physical needs. All right, we've talked extensively, and I will continue to talk about emotional resilience and psychological and mental and physiological resilience and heart-brain coherence, and all of those are important. But I think the most important principle of resilience is to shift in the thinking, because once you acknowledge to yourself that this is not business as usual, that we're living a rare moment in the history of our civilization, of our society, of our generation. We haven't seen anything like this in 5,000 years of recorded human history, and many people are reluctant to embrace the fact that now is different. They want to normalize it. They want to normalize and say, well, we always have economic problems and we've always got a war going on somewhere. And that is a coping mechanism, and I totally get it. I understand it. I have done this for myself because it's hard sometimes to see the world as it is today. What I want to do for you, my community, I care about you. I love you. I would not be offering this if I felt that we were seeing more daylight at the end of this tunnel. The signs right now, we have embarked upon a journey together that could have changed, that can always change. But for that change, there has to be a shift in thinking and a shift in perspective. And I don't see that happening in our near future. And as a scientist and engineer, when we look at futures, we tend to look at short term and long term. Short term is now to 6 months. Long term is 6 months and beyond. So in the short term, the next 6 months, we're in it. The only way out of it is we're going to go through it. And we're going to see changes that may be difficult if we're not prepared for those changes in terms of climate, in terms of economy, in terms of supply chains, all of that. So I want you to be prepared. So what I've done, put together just a few slides to give you specific examples. This is what people are asking for. They're saying, okay, yeah, we know maybe we need some backup power, we need some backup food, or how do we store water? We know that, but how do we do that? What are those specifics? So I spent the last couple of evenings putting together specifics. There are things that I use in my own life that I have used for many years, so I know these things work. And I'm going to give you some specific brands. And I want to be really clear, I have no affiliation with these brands. They don't know I'm doing this. I don't make a penny off of sharing with you the products that I'm using. I just want to honor you with specifics that I know work and that I've used that have worked for me for a number of years. And that's what I'm going to do right now. So let's jump right into some of these specifics. So when we talk about resilience in terms of our families and our communities in times of extremes, I think one of the most basic examples of having spare capacity is the ability to have power in your home. When we have bad storms, when we have power failures, there are a number of reasons these can happen. It could be one of the most frightening things to a family. It could be one of the most dangerous if it happens in the middle of winter, for example. If your power goes out and your heat is based upon the ability to have electricity in your home, your ability to cook may be based upon this, having electricity in your home, and you've got kids, it can be really, really scary, and especially if it's for long periods of time. So I'm going to talk to you about a couple of different sources of backup power. But before I do, I just want to be really clear. These are not the only ones out there. There are so many out there, and this is why people have asked for some help. They said there's so many out there, we don't know what's good, what's not, what works, what doesn't work. So everything I'm about to share with you, I have in my own home right now. Some of these I have had for a number of years, so there may be better products that have come more recently. So I'm not saying that this is the only way to go. I'm just giving you some examples of what's available, so you have some idea of where to get these and what the prices look like. So I'm going to begin with backup power, backup electricity. I'm going to start with light use, because everyone has different idea of what they need. And this is something that you need to do for yourself and your family. Sit down and have a family meeting, or sit down with yourself and have a self-conversation and say, how important is electricity to you, and what level of backup do you need if, for example, you were to lose the power? And again, there are all kinds of reasons. Climate change is driving extreme weather. And climate change is a fact. We all know that. The reasons are controversial, but the fact that it's happening is something that's we have to deal with. So we've got extreme weather. We've got ice storms that break power lines, knock down power poles. In the northeast of the United States, we see this throughout Europe as well. We're seeing floods. We're seeing fires. And I'm going to speak to my U.S. audience. Our power grid is old and it's very vulnerable. It's not a hardened power grid and is susceptible to a lot of things. I live in the high desert of northern New Mexico. Some of you may remember this. This was probably 10, 12, 13, 14 years ago, I believe. There was a problem on the power grid with the U.S. power grid that started in, I believe it was in Utah, and there was a failure in one of the boosting stations, and it created a cascade effect that went down from Utah through Arizona uh, into southern New Mexico, and it just followed right up into northern New Mexico. And in my rural community, we were without power for over almost 10 days. Yeah, I know it was over 7 days, and then I left on a trip. So it was over 10 days, no power. So it was just a vulnerable power grid. So these things can happen. So let me go through these. I'm going to go through them quickly. Light use. This is a small backup power. It's a 440 watt. A company, it's called AIM Tom is the name of it. And it comes with a 60 watt solar panel so that you can recharge this and during the daylight hours. You can also recharge it from a wall plug. You can recharge it from a car battery. On Amazon, it's just under 500 US dollars for 479. And I have one of these. Mine looks a little different. It was an earlier model, but here's what I like about this. It has, you can see this one, it's got three 110 volt outlets, so you can plug in typical appliances. It has really good lights. I probably use this more for lights when the power is out than anything else. They're really good floodlights. You can charge computers, you can charge phones. So here you can see there's a DC input. You can charge from car battery, you can charge from a USB. The LED light is there. Let me show you, this is what the solar panel looks like. It's really well done. It comes in this, it folds into, looks like a little briefcase that fits, I keep this in the back of my vehicle. I've got an SUV, it's got a small hospital for emergency use that I keep because I seem to be the first upon accidents frequently, and I like to be able to help. So I've got the backup power here as well. Here's some of the uses. You can charge, if you've got a phone, you can get 33 complete charges. You can run your laptop 6 charges out of this. You can actually run a mini refrigerator for 7 hours out of this if that is, if your food, if you got like a little fridge, not a full-size kitchen fridge, and we'll get to that in a minute. 32-inch LED TV, you can run up to 6 hours with this. A CPAP, if you're running a CPAP, 8 to 10 hours. So again, this is called light use for short-term temporary power outages. It's portable, you can take it camping, you can do a lot of things with this. And we use ours a lot. I've really enjoyed this little unit. So it is a multi-purpose unit. Medium purpose, you need something more. And there's a company called EcoFlow that does a series of really nice power generators. This particular one is 1800 watt constant output. It can surge to 3300 watts. It looks like this. It's a little bit bigger, a little bit heavier, really well constructed, I have to tell you. And it's a little pricier. It's $1,099 US dollars on Amazon. I checked this last night. And this does much, much more. And you can actually have a couple of these and almost run everything in the house that you need. I wanted to show you what the back and the front of the unit look like. So what you're seeing, it's the same unit, and I'm just showing the front and the back. So you can see it has 6 AC outlets. You can power 13 devices at the same time. Those 6 outlets, there's 1800 watts that you can run for that. From that, it's got the USB ports for computers, for phones, carport. You can charge this from wall electricity, from your cigarette lighter in your car, or it has solar panels, and I'll show you those in a moment. So look at, I just want to give you an idea of some of the ways this can be used. And I'm going to skip down to the home backup. Again, the CPAP, here you're looking at 10 to 22, is that 10? No, 18, I'm sorry, 18 to 22 hours. You can run a microwave, you can run a refrigerator, you can run a hairdryer from this if it's under 1800 watts. A lot of hairdryers, 1600 watts. If you're working construction, all kinds of power tools you can use from this, a grinder, circular saw. For outdoor use, you can see this. You can use a laptop outdoors. Some people use these to recharge their